always hear from the Democratic Party, vote blue no matter who, party unity, we got to work together. Democrats, the resistance against Trump, because we got to stop Trump. We got to work together. And, you know, the Democrats have a strong plan of unity. We know how to get things done. Bullshit. Because here's another example of the hypocrisy of the DNC, especially those in the establishment, especially those who've been in power for far too long. Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat from West Virginia, said he would not back Senator Bernie Sanders in a 2020 presidential matchup against President Trump. See, Joe Manchin is a blue dog Democrat. He's a conservative. He votes Republican too, by the way. Very similar to some other blue dog Democrats as well. Manchin told Fox News he would absolutely not support Sanders' agenda, calling it not practical where I come from. Interesting. When Fox News' Neil Cavuto asked who Manchin would vote for if the Vermont progressive ended up becoming the Democratic presidential nominee, Manchin responded, well, it wouldn't be Bernie. Uh-oh, Democrats. Wait a minute. Are you telling me within the DNC you don't have party unity? You're not going to support a strong progressive, even if Bernie Sanders gets a nomination? I thought it was like, hey, we got to work together, vote blue no matter who. You know, I heard this bullshit in 2016. And again, he goes on to state this. Let's just say I'm going to make decisions based on what's best for my country and my state. Joe Manchin represents a state that Trump won in 2016 for a race for the White House by 40 percentage points. The West Virginia senator endorsed the Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton that year, but later said he regretted doing so, giving her critical remarks about the coal industry. And again, he's against Medicare for all. He says this, Bernie keeps saying Medicare for all. I said, Bernie, we can't even pay for Medicare for some. Again, just a short reminder, 500,000 Americans go bankrupt because they can't pay for their medical bills. Here in this country, we have money and resources for the military-industrial complex and other military ventures, but we don't have money to rebuild our infrastructure, deal with student debt, or even take care of the people who are struggling just to make ends meet. Really says a lot about Joe Manchin and his years of service in the United States Senate. But at least when it comes down to Senator Bernie Sanders, in response to it, Sanders said in an interview with CNBC that he was confident Manchin, along with Senator John Tester, Democrat from Montana, would support his agenda. Damn right they will, Sanders said in that interview. And you know what? Here's the thing. We got to get rid of these neoliberal centrists that are in the United States Senate and in the House right now. Because let's face it, they would rather lose this race to Trump than have a progressive in the White House. And these Democrats who have been in power for so long are just turning a blind eye to what's really impacting a lot of Americans. We have a lot of problems wrong. And somebody like Joe Manchin, we can't even pay for Medicare for some. Well, here's the reason why we can't pay for Medicare for some, because of the influence of the insurance industry in our politics, because we have such a corrupt system. I'm seeing Paul.
Do you guys remember, I mean, maybe you've seen some of this recently. There are these, memes and things that get shared around among left-leaning Democrat voter circles that are things like, everyone be prepared for whoever the nominee is. That's who we have to support. Not everyone is going to be, your favorite. Not everyone's going to pass your litmus test, but everyone be prepared to vote this orange Cheeto out next year. Everyone. Just vote for whoever the nominee is. So those are people who are obviously in the tank for centrist, status quo, establishment. Let's just have another Obama-esque, Hillary Clinton-esque centrist Democrat. But anyone but fucking Bernie Sanders, not him. Or Tulsi. That's the whole point of that message is we know you people like Tulsi. We know you people like Andrew Yang. We know you people like Bernie Sanders. We don't want one of these Democrats that doesn't kowtow to the party line. We don't want one of these Democrats who's gonna do the things you guys say you like. We want one of these Democrats who's gonna remind you why we can't do those things. We need someone to be a champion for the things we can't have. That's what we want. We need you all to stand behind that person. You know what? And when it comes around to this guy who's saying, if it's Bernie Sanders, I'm voting for Trump, I wonder, were you in the contingent of people that were sharing those memes that were like, oh, you got to support the nominee? Because this seems like, oh, there's a word for it, or phrase rather. It seems like double standard is the phrase I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And Paul, I like that middle finger salute that you were doing.
So let's go into this. This reminds me, like everyone forgets, like even today, like the amount of people, especially on Facebook. Interesting, it's on Facebook. Facebook tends to be older. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Of the arguments I've had with people that are like, when I mention I'm a supporter of Bernie Sanders, first thing they say is, "Oh, so you're going to vote for whoever wins the nominee." And, you know, the more that this happens, the more it reminds me of 2008. And it's party unity right now that the centrists think that they're winning. I mean, if they thought, you know, Bernie Sanders had a snowball's chance in hell, they might not be saying party unity as loud as they do. However, what was that thing? It was, party unity my ass. It was a quarter of Clinton supporters who refused to vote for Obama for, you know, whatever reason. It might be because she started the term Obama boys, because they're, you know, those thuggish black Obama boys that they just recycled in 2016 and this election.
Urban?
Oh yeah, a little bit of urban. There you go. But and then that got recycled to just Bernie Bros, which is interesting that it's like in 2008, it's an insult to black males in their 20s and 30s, and in 2016, it's just white males in their 20s and 30s. It's so original. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So, what's going to happen? Well, it's interesting because McCain was a little more beloved in an odd way by centrists than you see a lot of flip, and Trump is universally hated. So I really am interested, to Paul's point on double standards, how many hypocrites are going to show themselves when Sanders wins the nominee? How many? Because right now we are hearing screeching from the rooftops anytime I talk to someone that isn't for Bernie. It's, well, you're going to vote for the Democrat when they get elected. Again, the implicit thing that goes into party unity is when my candidate wins, when my established candidate wins, you're going to not run away. Because
when you're done fantasizing about unicorns and rainbows and come back to reality and do a cost-benefit analysis and realize that both of these candidates are complete and utter dog shit, but our candidate is just a little bit less stinky.
And is our favorite type of sprinkles on the shit.
Yeah, but
wait, I'm just going to go with the last point. That is, this is going to be amazing to watch these people crying for party unity, all of a sudden having some reason or another to just like, I'm not going to vote. I might vote for Trump. We see a lot of establishment people are going to vote for Trump because Trump is the establishment. Trump is a figurehead. He doesn't really act as a president. It's Mnuchin and all these other people that are actually running everything, but he is running the gears of Washington just like Obama did, just like Bush did, and so on and so on. So let's see how long party unity lasts. And we'll get into a little bit about why we're more and more confident that Sanders will be the guy. But Kit.
All right, so look, here's the thing. Especially when you hear people, especially when you hear on corporate media and from centrist Democrats that Bernie Sanders is a danger. You want to know why he's a danger? Because for 40 years, he's been consistent with his policies. For so long in the American political system, we have rarely seen a politician actually speak the truth to the American people. For so long, we have been just only hearing corporate establishment candidates spewing out talking points, and it was getting boring and disgusting, and we were getting tired of it. But then, surprise, surprise, comes out Bernie Sanders, who actually mentions the problems that we're facing. Climate change is going to be a reality, and we're going to have to be dealing with it. It's a true threat. We have a corrupt neoliberal system. We have Wall Street running amok. We have a serious problem with medical debt, student debt, and numerous other issues that are impacting this country. And Bernie Sanders has the courage to confront them. Do you see any of these other politicians doing the same thing? No. And you want to know why? He'll shine a light on their bullshit. But he can't do this by himself. This election cycle is just not only the presidential race, there's also congressional seats that are up for election. And we need to get the progressives and independents into office so that we can actually have a real, true chance to bring in much needed political reform, because Bernie Sanders cannot do this by himself. And when you hear someone like Joe Manchin speak about party unity or I'm not going to vote for the establishment, just remember this, and I don't feel sorry about it. I voted third party, and I'll do it again because I don't have to support vote blue no matter who. I remember 2016. I remember what happened to Wells Fargo Center. I remember how Bernie Sanders supporters, volunteers, and delegates were treated horribly. There wasn't any peace or love there. There was clear friction and division. And for this election cycle, we need a strong progressive that will bring in unity and that person is Senator Bernie Sanders. Too bad corporate media, too bad DNC establishment. Daniel, what's the final word?
Final word is that don't let anyone convince you that your vote is anything but earned. You don't owe your vote to anyone. This is democracy. And as far as I remember, it's authoritarian governments that demand your vote, and it is democracies that earn your vote. So no matter what happens, no matter who the candidate is, no matter how things go, your vote is your vote. The only people's votes that actually matters are people that think for themselves. If your vote is automatically given blue no matter who, your vote really doesn't matter. It's just a guaranteed given, and it's irrelevant to politicians. They don't have to fight for you or your issues. So remember that.